Hi, my name is Jasmine Mitchell, and my topic is on visual perception in reading. The title of my article is Culture, Context, or Behavioral Control. So there are many factors that play into how children learn to socialize with others within their culture. They discuss that joint book reading is essential to language development and has social cultural significance. From the social cultural perspective, joint book reading creates adaptive socialization for communicative patterns of their respective culture. From a language development perspective, joint book reading has long-lasting benefits on literacy and vocabulary development. Joint book reading promotes better reading quality and shows greater language intelligibility and complexity. From a perceptual perspective, a parent's perception is seen through the language that is used when the child and they are interacting during reading and in conversation. What parents discuss with their child during this time depends on what the parent perceives during each image. Given these perspectives, the paper aims to evaluate the exclusion of directives during joint book reading on language development and evaluate if culture-specific patterns of noun-verb usage varied by particular pictures. This study compares language structure and linguistic complexity in young English and Mandarin speakers. It was found that joint book reading was a valued activity in both cultures. Chinese Mandarin culture, the parents usually have an authoritarian parenting style, which is a parenting style in which the parent is highly directive and has set standards of conduct and expectations of obedience for the child. In American culture, parents typically have an authoritative parenting style which allows for reasoning and understanding of decision-making on the part of the parent and the child. In Chinese culture, the knowledge type is ideological. They have traditional values and the culture is a collectivism. In American culture, the knowledge type is popular. The type is non-traditional, and the sociocultural orientation is individualist. This study used 24 Mandarin-speaking mothers and their children and 25 English-speaking mothers and their children. All children were 20 months old. English-speaking mothers had an average of 6 years of post-secondary schooling, and Mandarin-speaking mothers had an average of 3.5 years of post-secondary schooling. They compared linguistic complexity across children speakers for 3 dynamic contexts. They used pictures of agents, which here were animals, pictures of objects, and transitive actions. Pictures of agents were evaluated separately from objects because they could perform actions. In the study, a picture book was used, and the pictures in the book were relevant to both cultures, so it was a mixed culture picture book. For the procedure, they conducted 3 10-minute interactive play sessions in which the parent and the child would engage with a book or with toys. They aimed to assess whether verbs produced by Chinese children were due to behavioral control of the parents during joint reading, so they excluded all phrases that were directed towards the child's behavior. During the study, they also used quantitative research. So for the differences, the sample size, let's talk about that first. The sample size from each culture is not representative of the population. During the time of the study, only about 28% of the American population had post-secondary education. The sample size of American population used in the study barely encompasses families with only high school education. Next, language. In English, mothers tend to use more general verbs and more specific nouns in conversation with the child. In Mandarin, the mothers tend to use more behavioral language. Behavioral language is a key part of Mandarin culture and parenting styles. They did not consider the language differences as they excluded behavioral language from the evaluation of language production in Mandarin speakers and in Mandarin children. They discussed that due to the complexity of the Mandarin language, verbs are more useful in beginner language in comparison to nouns. So they did have a few vocabulary differences. Early English learners used more nouns and acquired more nouns before verbs. Early Mandarin learners had as many nouns as they did verbs. Okay, so the results. Mandarin-speaking mothers use more word types during joint reading, and they also use more verbs. And they did so in a contrasting manner. Even with the exclusion of behavioral language, Mandarin mothers use more verbs than English mothers. Chinese mothers tended to focus on the relation of the image to the action when reading with the child. Unlike English-speaking mothers, Chinese mothers did not go into detail about the features of the object, rather the action. So in English, English mothers use more complex phrasing, use equal portions of common nouns and verbs, and talked about nouns in unique ways. The conclusion fits with my general schema in the sense that due to the nature of the parenting styles of each culture, language production in young learners will be similar to speech produced by the parents. Thank you for listening.